right there. I'll be back in a minute. Say hi to them.
Hey y'all! Praise the Lord!
That's with the glasses.
Got my white glasses on because we out here on the porch with all you guys ought to see that it's beautiful. I love coming here.
Start calling you Bootsy Collins.
Yeah, Bootsy. Yeah, man.
I figured you recognize
Atomic down. Bow, wow, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy. Well, I've had a good week. I hope you guys had a good week. How about you, Brother Dan? You have a good week?
I survived it.
Sister Connie?
Oh, yeah.
Brother Copeland?
Excellent.
Miss Copeland? Have a good week? Excellent week. I love the contrast. I've embraced the contrast. I've learned to live with the contrast. Contrast is a beautiful thing. Here comes Sister Patty with the coffee.
All right, thank you.
Brother Tori, he'll be right with us in a minute.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can feel. What's it feel?
It's Phil in here.
Okay. The brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Yes, surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the crush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of a Tory is in this place. Okay. Good to see everybody this morning. I'm sure they've already greeted you. So it's good to have Jamie with us and all the rest of us. Was Sister Pam coming?
She said she was.
Okay, she'll be here.
Yes.
Sometimes that trip coming down is no fun. You know, she travels about 60 miles.
Yeah.
So,
Takes about an hour and 15 minutes.
yeah. So, well, it's good to be here. We have been, we've been talking a lot on language, music, dimensions, elemental changes. You know, we've called it everything from shape-shifting to whatever. But I had some scripture that I wanted to read this morning. A lot of people have asked me, so what do you read from the Bible for if you think it's been fulfilled? And well, I read from William Branham's message, and I think it's fulfilled.
Right.
I read from Hemingway's stories, and they've been fulfilled.
Right.
I read Mark Twain, and that's over and done.
Read from Mark Twain. I see all of us posting things on Facebook that are already been fulfilled. So, to me, when I sit down and read this Bible now, I read it with a completely different onset, a completely different thought of what I used to read it under a cloud of one person, a twofold being, one person the Word, the other person the flesh, and the one continually condemning the other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't see that anymore. So when I read everything, I'm reading about the person of Don Parnell or whoever the story is about. And I don't see myself, if I read about the story of Joseph, I don't see myself as just Joseph. I look at the holistic picture, and I see myself as Pharaoh. I see myself as Potiphar. I see myself as Potiphar's wife. I see myself as the other 11 boys that betrayed him. I see all my whole character in there of who I am, and I'm able to now forgive myself. I don't even know if that's even the right word. I'm able to now reconcile myself with everything that I am, and I'm able to work with it. So before I get started and read this scripture, we have been working, and I'm sure that those of you that are on today, you have noticed that we changed the names. We have 3 sites, 3 groups on Facebook that we actually deal with. One of them was Who Am I and Where Am I Going? And we changed that one, I think, to spiritual awareness.
You know what that is now?
Yeah, and then the other 2 were the Testaments Media and the Testament Social Media Human Action, and we changed those to spirituality and science, and another one about spirituality. But anyway, all 3 of them start out with spirituality. So when you go to the groups and you find yourself, you think, oh, somebody tried to put me in a new group. No, that's us. We just changed our name. And also, I want to announce this morning that we changed the name of the website. We tried a lot of names. You know how it is. There's literally millions of people out there with names, and you can't take one of their names if they have registered it.
Right.
So we finally found what we wanted, and the name of it's going to be Spiritual Energy. And we set it up so I asked a lot of people, what are your suggestions? And there was a lot of great suggestions, and I just pulled, Brother Leroy said, you don't really want more than 2 words. He said, if you do, then your Earl's going to be so long you can't get it on one line, and people are never going to remember it. So I pulled out 2 words from that, and that was spiritual and energy. And we tried a lot of different things, and they were all taken. And we pulled those 2 together and sent it in. It worked. I said, well, that's kind of what we are. We're spiritual energy. And just close that door too. There's somebody in there. So we set up spiritual energy, and when you'll find that Brother Illyrio said that he was trying to set it up and have it ready to go by this morning, but they've not been able to. He wants me to announce that it'll be up and running by October the 2nd, I think he said. And you'll find the Testaments link for anybody that can't remember. What did they say that was? Just put in the Testaments, and it's linked to it, and it'll take you right to our website, which is Spiritual Energy. The Earl is, you can come up here. The Earl, it's up to you. The Earl is www.spiritualenergy.net. So if you pull that one up and it doesn't show up yet, it's just that they're still working on it. And if you can't remember spiritualenergy.net, just pull up the Testaments and it'll link you right straight to it until you start remembering it. So, okay. So why all the changes, Brother Parnell? Because we've changed. You know, I would, and Brother Lario also said to tell everyone that all the backgrounds, all the pictures, everything's going to change. they're just doing that gradually on the site, giving it a different look. And we did it because we've changed. We've moved way beyond what, trying to say First, Second, Third Testament or all the Testaments together. We brought spirituality and science and all those things together and kind of filtered out the whole concept of religion. Don't get upset. Christianity. We kind of filtered out all those things, and we have said, we want to come across as what we are, a holistic people, and we tried some of those holistic view, holistic insight, and a lot of, almost everything was taken. But this is very good. It's a very good name for us because that's what we are. We're energy, and we are spiritual. So, okay. I wanted to read out of Jeremiah wrote this. It's in the book of Lamentations, and start with verse 19, and think about yourself as a holistic person. And he says, remember my afflictions and my wanderings, the wormwood and the bitterness. Surely my soul remembers and is bowed down within me. This I recall to mind, therefore I have hope. So what Jeremiah is writing about here is, I'm a person who has negativity in me. I'm a person who has hope, positivity in me, but I'm a person who, I've got to understand who I am. Well, I have no hope. Listen to what he says here. The Lord's loving kindnesses indeed never cease. This is Lamentations 3:19. The Lord's loving kindnesses indeed never cease. The 22nd verse. For his compassions never fail. Where is that? Where does that take place at?
Here.
Yeah.
In this realm.
In this realm, inside you. And when I say inside you, it's not like it's a beating heart or a brain. It's the essence of you, the person. And you have these compassions, and they never fail. Well, what are you compassionate about? What is it that you are working on to get it into a different light or into a different position? Because that's what compassion is all about. Is showing somebody something that will help them get out of a condition they're in. Well, what if you're showing yourself? Not just somebody, but what if that compassion, the Lord's loving kindnesses indeed never cease, for his compassions never fail. I realize I am wormwood.
Yes.
I am bitterness.
Yes.
I have no hope, and my soul is completely bowed down if I begin to condemn that person, rather than work with that person, being me, I'm the person, and have compassion on me and show love for myself. And he says, they are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. You ever have that few minutes in the morning? A lot of people don't have it. I'm sure you do. When you first wake up and you think, great, another day. I feel good. And you feel that unction, that compassion to forgive everything, or to just reconcile everything in your mind and say, even though I got angry, even though I got a little bit of bitterness about me, even though I've done all those things yesterday, it's a new day. I feel better. I feel good. I took a shower. I washed it all off of me. I feel good. That's what he's saying. Every single morning, that compassion comes back and is real in your life. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I have hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him. And I know what everybody says, that's right, just sit in the corner, take your little potato and say, this is all I have, and I need the Lord. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying, You are wormwood, you are bitterness, your soul is bowed down, you seem to have no hope sometimes, and you're going to wait for this compassion to begin to reconcile all that and make you feel good again.
Mm-hmm.
There are many times when you say, why did I say that? Why did I do this? Why did I act this way? Why do I have these feelings? Wait. And know that you are the Lord, and express those compassions and those feelings for that part of you. You have a part that is iniquity and it has troubles, and express your compassion and wait there for the salvation of the Lord. Or in other words, salvation is reconciliation back to where you're acting as a whole person, and you're moving beyond all that bitterness and all those things. So I read the scripture in a completely different light than I used to. I used to read this and say, oh God, I'm like Jeremiah, my tears are rolling down and I don't know what to do with myself, and I'm lost, and oh, if it wasn't for Jesus. You know how we used to be.
We used to wake up every morning comparing ourselves to written and spoken word. And we could not move forward without going through those portals. And we've learned that those portals are different. They changed completely. The word is not something written, it's living. It's each one of us. It's not something written down in a book somewhere, spoken over a pulpit. That's not what the word is. It started out as that, and it's evolved into much more. And so when you wake up and you put that, I see so much of a battle going on here. All Jeremiah, all this word, and all the emotions that it put him through in trying to deal with being the word all the time. And look at what it put his emotions. Look at the words that he uses. Look at the words that he needs to apply, like compassion.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it explains that when we reach an understanding to where the intelligence of our heart mixes with the feelings of our heart, now you've got something to move forward to. But as long as you're sitting there still dividing that, oh, our knowledge is this, but our feelings are this, and somehow they got to walk side by side, they are part of the same thing. You can't have one without the other. And when we start to accept that, it changes everything. It changes the word. It puts us in a situation where when we wake up in the morning, it is a new day. And though the words and actions of yesterday are still there, they're the same, we can choose to have new feelings about that and move forward with it.
I think we fail to connect the dots. I don't know why I get so soft when I come to your house. Normally I'm loud, but I think we fail to connect the dots. Like, for example, the scripture says, come boldly to the throne of grace. But yet we, like you said, oh Lord Jesus, thank you for saving me. I was such a bad sinner.
Like we think he sees that piousness more so than our boldness.
Yeah.
That's what we think.
Well, we just...
Many times our belief system gets in the way of our knowledge. And I hope everybody understood that. Many times our belief system gets in the way of our knowledge.
That's exactly right, my brother.
We have a knowledge of everything. We may not have discovered all of our knowledge yet, but we have a knowledge of everything. And we'll get into a belief system that will block that knowledge from opening itself to us.
Well, do you feel like that's what we're here for anyway? To evolve into that knowledge?
We're here to, because you have to have the experience of the knowledge to make it real.
Yes, it's got to be
Otherwise, it's intellect. Knowledge is, if you go back all the way and take a look at things, Adam and Eve, they had knowledge with one another. Knowledge is just a relationship.
That's right.
It could be sexual, it could be whatever, intellect, it could be oneness, it's just they had a relationship. So to me, knowledge is coming into a relationship, and the way you do that is through experience.
Yes.
I can remember when we first married, there were a lot of days that were not very knowledgeable. There wasn't much of a relationship there, even though we loved one another to the core, and we always will. Patty and I, there were times when we felt better just leaving one another alone for a day or two. I remember so many of those days. I'm mad. I'll leave those alone. They're negatives. But we're a people who brings both together. It's like we've been talking forever about alternating currents, negative and positive. You know, DC is one, AC is the other. You have a positive current, you have a negative current. And DCs are used for like huge engines, all kinds of things. DC, when it runs into those 440 and on up into 50,000 volts and everything else, it's your DCs that take care of all that. Your ACs bring it more to a lower current, but a livable current.
Right.
And I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know, some people are DC. They are DC is a negative current, and that's what people are. I seen a preview show coming up, The Joker, and he looks at somebody and he says, "I have nothing but negative thoughts." And I thought, well, people don't realize it, but some people are that way. Because negativeness is just that DC current. And if you try to put another thought besides negativity into that current, you know what happens. It explodes. Now, you take many of the people who are working off the past, that's a DC current. And what happens is they have a, wait just a second.
Oh, go ahead. Having a coffee conversation, sorry. It's a direct current.
That DC current, you know, it's like what you're talking about is like two magnets, one positive, one negative.
No, DC is not positive.
It has no positive,
DC
doesn't have
it's
any.
pure negative.
So when
energy.
you get to DC batteries, is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you have a positive current. And so what happens is someone says, well, the Third Testament or the Baptist Church or the Methodist Church, they are DC. They are negative. They have a past relationship. They're not working off the current. And then others say love divine. It's all positive. All they talk about is positive, positive, positive. And if you try to throw a negative in on them, they explode. They get upset. No, we don't believe that. We don't believe. I know I don't do that. Throw what you want at me. Now here's where we are at. I believe this is where we are at. Tesla created the light bulb, and you read in the history books that Edison did it, but Tesla did it and Edison stole it from him. Nikola Tesla, he created a metal that would take both DC and AC current. And it wouldn't, most metals would explode. He finally created a metal that would take both DC and AC current, and it would heat it up, but it wouldn't explode. And what you're looking at is that element, or that metal, glowing in that light bulb right there. Glowing in the light bulb out there. You're looking at a metal that can take both AC and DC and light up and not blow up. Well, that's where we're at. I believe in the positivity, but that's not all I am. I know I'm negative, And I believe in the negativity, but that's not all I am. But I bring the two together, and I have created an element that will not explode. And it just keeps heating up, and it gets, some have limitations, 20 watts, 50 watts. You take a 100-watt bulb and you hook it up to a 220 and see what happens.
Yeah.
Boom. So many people have limitations, but we all have that element, and we all need to understand our limitations. Remember my bitterness, remember my anger, remember my things that I have in me, remember my limitations. And if I'm supposed to be a quarter, let me be a quarter. If I'm supposed to be a $50, let me be a $50. If I'm supposed to be a silver dollar, let me be one. But let me also understand what I can do in this life and heat up and glow where I'm supposed to glow. That's what I mean about positive, negative. When my body feels like it can't go any further, then the feelings and the mind of my heart will pick up my body and carry it through the cycle, healing it along the way. Our love from the heart is an amazing line.
Yep.
So, elementally, I have learned that when I feel that I can't go any further, let the heart take over. And it will keep things from exploding. How does it work in your life?
More or less giving up resistance to, like, for example, if I keep saying that I cannot make it, then, and I say, oh, I just can't make it, I just can't do this anymore, oh God, well, I'll never do it. But if I just give in, give up, realize my limitations, surrender, and let go of all the resistance, then my heart will take over.
Yeah.
And it will carry me through.
And if you're 100 watt, you'll light up the room at 100 watt.
You'll light it up.
If you're 60, you'll light it up at 60.
I want to be 100. I want to keep it 100. How about you, bro?
I just want to be a light. like one guy said, he was
all I can be.
He was a little fussy with me, and he said, whether we're this or whether we're this, we're still a light bulb. Whether you're a Model T or whether you're a Tesla car, you're still a car, and you're still going to get down the road, and you're still going to go where you want to go. And I said, you're right. You're exactly right. That is what I'm saying. But for me, you keep your Model T, I'll take my Tesla.
Exactly.
Oh, that's me.
You know, I will continue and progress. And I said, when the next progression comes out, I'll jump to it too. So that's what we're saying. And whatever I am, if I am a Model T, be the best you can be. If all of my religion is old time, so to speak, light it up, you know, and do what you're gonna do. And if what I am is brand new, it's a new elemental move.
That's right.
Then be that. Move up to it and shine. And they had a lot of failures. Tesla had a lot of failures. Different ones had a lot of failures in creating this great light that we share today. A lot of failures. But they did create it, and it has come about to where the whole world's lit up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've flown across the earth plenty of times, and you look down at night, and the whole earth is just lit up with the inventions of bringing negative and positive together. So when your body doesn't feel good, when you don't feel good about a situation, how do you react to that? How do you resolve it? How do you reconcile it? Like Jeremiah said, what do you do?
I don't dwell on it, because I find if I have a negative thought or negative or something that's bringing me down, I try my best not to think of it, not to dwell on it, because if I do, that's just gonna pull me down even further.
Yeah.
So try to do something totally opposite. If it means just walking outside, just getting a breath fresh air, or do something totally different than what's trying to pull me down. That's how I deal with it. Just don't let it pull me down, and I don't hold a grudge or just think on it so much that it just bogs me.
Yeah.
You don't empower it
I
in
don't
any way, shape,
exactly.
or form.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
don't
understand
empower
what
it.
you're saying. And that's the choice you get every morning, is what I mentioned earlier. All the thoughts and deeds, all the expressions of yesterday are still there when you wake up. But how are you going to apply your feelings to it? Because you can turn around and just say, oh, this happened yet, and suddenly you just empowered what happened yesterday to start affecting your feelings this
Right.
morning.
Yeah.
And if you just say, you know what, it's a new day, it's a new morning, what happened yesterday is over, I'm going to create new feelings
Yes.
about this day regardless of what yesterday was
Yes.
like. That's a very hard thing to do, because we're still battling, even in the transformation we've made, in our transitioning from one type of understanding to another. We're still at that point to where there is all that indoctrination ingrained in our natures. And we wake up every morning with that in our head, and we have to take it and set it back on the shelf. Because you'll put it on the shelf that night and wake up the next morning, it's laying on your pillow right beside your head. It's right there. Why? Human nature. And so each day you have to set that up there and say, you know what, I'm not going to empower those things that gave me such a hard time yesterday. And then for me, another aspect of that is understanding that when things get to the point where I wake up and I look at where I'm at and where I want to be, and there's a gulf between that, it's like, okay, now it's time for the gap. Now it's time to settle down, shut out all the other voices and say, why am I here? How did I wind up here when I want to be over there? And how do I reconcile that?
I'm going to empower my compassions.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I'm going to empower.
You're going to realign and reassign your empowerment to change your circumstances.
Yeah.
As Eckhart would say, if we're talking, get into the now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get into the now.
Simple, wonderful way of saying it. Get into the now.
My thing is, I don't want to look at what is. You know, because if I focus on what is, like for example, if I'm sick and I focus in on that, then it's going to just bring me down.
Yes.
And I want to concentrate on and try to remember when I felt good. You know, maybe I felt good 20 years ago. I try to think about what that felt like, and then I say to myself, you know, 20 years ago, my body just felt so good. Felt so good. And then I concentrate on that. And before I know it, my thoughts are off of that bad feeling that my body had. And my thoughts have gravitated to how that good feeling was when I was younger. And all of a sudden, I start feeling that youth again. And I start feeling that. And because my mind is not focused on what is bothering me. And, you know, people walk up to me and they'll say, man, didn't you have a couple of surgeries? And aren't you this and aren't you that? And I say, I don't concentrate on that.
You try.
I don't even look at that. I don't even talk about that. I don't even go back to the past and remember anything like that. I want to forget all about that. And I want to look to the future of how well my body is progressing and changing and getting better.
Yeah.
Like my buddy here, when we talked, he said, man, I'm feeling good. I've got a little pain, but it's getting better. I mean, that's what I want to focus on.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
A better way to say it, maybe easier for you to understand, is overcome it.
Yes.
It's not that you don't want to remember it.
Well, not so much not want to remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
The pain I want to remember.
Yeah.
because I don't want to go out there and pick up something way too heavy for me ever.
Right,
again.
right. Yeah.
And if I can remember the horror of that pain and what I went
Yes,
through,
yes.
I'm going to look at that thing and say, sorry, can't move you. So-and-so wants me to help. Sorry, I can't do that. That's not for me. No matter, focus on how you overcome, but at the same time,
Know your limitations.
focus on your limitation and know that I can't go there.
Well, I couldn't go out here and swim a mile.
Yeah. So don't get in the ocean and try.
Yeah. I'm drowned. So I have to focus. You have to focus on that. Now maybe, 30 years ago I could swim a mile.
Yeah.
And still almost drowned.
I used to dive into stone quarries and swim about almost a mile and get out and go back around, get back up on the cliff and jump again. Swim a half a mile and go back around, get back up on the cliff and jump again. And just focused on the fact that I can do these things. But when I say focus on limitation, focus on the fact that you overcome.
Yes.
You have a limitation in your life. You pushed your body too far. You broke something in its bitterness and in all of its anguish and everything. You broke something, and now how do I reconcile that? And you bring it back. And it's not that I can't ever go beyond that limitation, but you push it so far, you snap the rope. You broke the rubber band. How do I get it back together?
And that's what this life is about, being limitless beings. We put ourselves in a condition to be limited in so many different
That's
ways.
true, bro.
And then challenge, okay, I can't do this anymore. Now how do I deal with it?
Yes.
So every limitation is a challenge for us to overcome that and figure out, because some things, it's over and done. When you hit a certain age, you did it for so many years and it's over. It's finished. You can't, and you have to accept that and just move on. Other things, you can modify them and adapt them and bring them back into your life in a different way and still move forward and enjoy that. But to me, it all comes down to that one thing. We are limitless. And this whole life is a total limitation. Now, what are we going to do about it? How are we just going to sit there and say, poor me, I'm just limited. I can't do it. I'm waiting on somebody to deliver me. Or are you going to say, you know what? I am limitless. Now, how do I take this in correlation with the movement of the Spirit? How do I take this and progress myself, evolve myself, become more?
How do I take unmovable and unstoppable and put it together?
Yes. Yes.
How do I take limited and limitless and put them together?
Yeah.
How do I, it's all of that. How do I mesh this together and make it a part of my eternal life? To understand and to appreciate and to love the fact that some of those limitations are the best thing for me, and some of those limitless things are the best thing for me.
I got a good example. I'm gonna speak loudly. I was listening this morning to a tape, and the guy that was standing before this person, he said that he had a dream that he could fly, and the person that advising him was saying, well, that dream was just to show you that you've been set free. Not that you can naturally fly in this life. She said, first of all, if you could do it, somebody gonna shoot you down. and second of all, people would think you'd be very odd and your life would be a living HELL because you could fly. You'd be the only human being on the face of the earth. Can you imagine what your life would be like? So, there's certain things that there's limitations to, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that we have to look at ourselves with certain limitations and say, hey, you can't swim a mile no more, bro.
And one person says, I am limitless.
Yeah, no.
Don't tell me I'm not limitless. And the next
I
person
reply.
says, and the next person says, I'm so limited. I don't know what to do. I don't know which way to turn. Well, I'm both. I'm both. I am limitless and I am limited, and I need to learn how to take this unstoppable and this unmovable and put them together. And
we're not talking about a balancing act, are we? We're not
No.
talking about balancing it. We're just talking about
We're talking about a
Perception.
mixture, like he pointed out, when that negative and that positive, negative enters that end of the element and starts moving up, and the positive enters this end of the element and moves it. And when they meet, everything in there, there's the nucleus. That's the here, that's the now, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's where the focus is at.
an element that we have created in this day, element is the word, an element that we have created in this day accepts both AC and DC and lights up.
And lights up.
Okay, who invented the airplane? the first designer, it was Galileo, wasn't it?
The guy in New Zealand, I can't remember who it was.
But they thought he was crazy. You know?
Some people think he was pretty smart.
Yeah, but you know, some people say, there's no way you could do this. You
Yeah.
can't get that thing off the ground.
Yeah.
You know? But that would be the limitless thing.
Yeah.
But then you had a guy that built this big old plane. I mean, it was huge, Howard Hughes. He could barely get that thing off the ground. So that's what you're talking about in correlation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Louis Villamore made this statement, and I like it. We'll talk a little bit more. I want to hear some more about how you guys handle it. Because it helps, you know, when you're in a position where you have to handle it, it helps when you've got options and you think, well, I could, so Sister Aubrey done this, or Pam said she done that. I'm going to try this.
The important part is to recognize you have the options, to recognize or be aware that you are AC and DC. You have to be aware that you are both.
Yes.
And once you come to that awareness,
Yes.
you realize you have options, you have choices.
And that you are the element that accepts them both.
Yes.
There's the element.
Yes.
AC and DC are currents,
True.
but there's the element that accepts them both.
True.
Heats up, lights up a room. The awakening is for all. Lighting up, AC, DC, elemental, is for all. No one is deprived to it. It's a part of your consciousness. Just what Alan said. Realizing you have options. Open up your consciousness. The I am is never unconscious. It always knows what is happening within and without about itself. Sometimes we don't have the proper experience to discover that, but we have it in us. If you are pretending that you're sleeping or not awake, it's your prerogative or privilege to do so. Enjoy the daydreaming. Enjoy your hallucination. Enjoy your illusions.
Yes.
You are still learning in the middle of those illusions, even though you don't want to wake up.
Yes.
So, boy, isn't that the truth?
That is the truth.
So many people think they're choosing a route difference. And I don't even want to know if I should say that. They think they're choosing a route that they're not going to have to experience this over here. And they're actually just choosing another route that has all the same experiences, but different ways of matching up to those experiences, whether you choose religion or science or politics or whether you choose to be DC or AC or the element, or whether you choose to, whatever you choose to be, it has all the ingredients to bring you to everything you're supposed to be. You might not be supposed to be this or that, and therefore you will not have the same experience that I will have or Connie will have or whoever. That's where we fail so many times, is we don't want to accept one another's differences,
Right. Yeah.
one another's capabilities. I know this is going to cross some hairs, but we are not created equal. That's a great saying for the Declaration of Independence, but it's nowhere, in the fact of life. Some people are not created. They have abilities that I don't have, and I have abilities that they don't have. We are created different, and some of these abilities, maybe in season, will bring us to a much greater understanding than the next person. It doesn't mean that they aren't exactly who they're supposed to be, but they're just not created like us. And we need to accept that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
You have some people that are on the cutting edge of people. You have people on the other spectrum of things.
How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it when you know you stepped into a room or into a condition or into a place where it's absolutely that? You know that everything that you have developed in your life is not really going to do a thing for this group or this person or this whoever or whatever it might be. How do you deal with that?
Just a simple acceptance. I mean, to me, the key word for me every day is peace. How can I find peace?
You don't find yourself trying to go ahead and push what you have on them?
I no longer push anything on anyone. I put my light out there. If they like the way it looks, they can come up closer and they can enjoy the heat, the look, the shape, whatever. If they don't want, that's fine, because they have to be who they are. The old thought was, if you have light, you have to share it. In other words, sharing doesn't mean put it out there for them to see. You have to convince them they need to be a part of that light. That's not it. I let the light shine. Whoever wants to walk in the room and enjoy what the light does, fine. If they don't, that's fine also. Total acceptance. And when I do that, I can be so much more peaceful at people who... Because all you got to do is get on this thing, and in 10 minutes, you'll be tore up over somebody. There's somebody out there that's just going to upset you one way or the other just by getting on that thing for 5 minutes. And when you can do that and just set it down and walk away and say, that's them, that's their life, I'm at peace with it. I'm fine. Peace is the core value for me every day. I have to find peace, because if I don't, I'm walking around all tore up.
I think that's what those things are for. I think that humanity had come through 100 years of war, and we were settling down into just let everything be at peace. Just let everything be. And now we're not dealing with world peace or universal syncrecy. We're not dealing with any of those things now. We're not dealing about going to the moon and everything else. What we're dealing about is the brother sitting next to us that said something on this that it grinds you. And you think, dang, going it. I could kill him for that. After everything I have pushed on him, surely he knows better than that. We have to come to peace. We're dealing micro now. We're dealing inside there.
That's right, bro.
Coming to peace with herself and knowing that he or she can have that difference, and we are still one.
Yeah. That's right. Because when you can become at peace with yourself, you can walk out amongst any crowd and be at peace. If you don't believe it, go back through that New Testament and see, what do you think Jesus was doing every time he walked through that total chaotic? He was totally at peace. He knew that everybody wanted to kill him or do this or do that or lift him up and make him the greatest thing on the planet. He just walked through there and said, this is what I am. I'm at peace with that. This is who they are. I'm at peace with that. Wow. And when you can learn to do that, when you can learn to sit and become at peace with all things, all humanity, it sure will make life easier. It may not make life, all your dreams may not come true, all the things you want every day, you may not be able to obtain them. But what it does, it gives you that, well, in time. I'll get there in time, and I'm just going to be at peace with everybody else. Let them go their path. I'm going mine, and in time I'll get where I need to be.
Yeah.
Damn, you're in an office environment. You deal with people on the phone. You deal with payroll. You deal with so much sticky situations. You got mail people coming in. People get mad and hanging up on you. How you deal with it? I wonder. How you think she deals with it?
Let her say.
Take the condition, love unconditionally, regardless of the condition. That's what I do.
Yeah. That's good.
I just look at them, I'm like, I'm here for a purpose. This is helping me really down the line to
Yeah.
grow and evolve. They have their life and their path they have to follow. And I have to recognize that and be patient with them as well as they learn,
Yeah.
as they evolve. So that's how I deal with it.
And keep in mind, here's something you want to envelop a thought in. 90% of the people out there, at least in third world countries, everything they go through is either connected to politics or religion. Understand that. Because they're still there, because their thoughts channel through that portal, it has a tainted effect. They always come out biased. And when people learn to stop using those two portals and create a whole new portal and leave those things aside, then you have to have patience with them. You have to realize that that person that hates this person just because of their politics, wants to kill them because of their politics, that's where they're at. And sooner or later, they'll come out of it. Now, it may not be till the very end, and it may be a week from now. We don't know. But being able to just accept the fact that where we're at in this day and age, that's the move of the Spirit. Politics and religion dying out. And us superseding all that stuff that's been inflicted on us. And when you can do that, when you can just look at people and say, okay, I see the politics, I see the religion, that's just where they're at. I accept them because I've been there, and I know what that was like, and I know how that made me feel all the time. And because I'm not there, I need to have more understanding, more compassion toward those people and say, someday they'll come out of that. They will.
Or maybe they won't.
You do?
Well, they will at the end of this life.
Not really. They
You.
could go right on through and go through another life with still learning.
Still learning.
Oh, I see what you're
That's
saying.
the
You're
whole
talking
purpose.
about
See, that's the whole purpose.
because they didn't learn, they're just
Yeah,
going to
the
roll it
purpose.
over
They
into
just
another
roll it over.
lesson.
Yeah, Paul said something that really helped me with this thought that we just hit on, and that is, if in this life only we have hope,
Right.
we are all men most miserable.
Oh, that's beautiful, Tom.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Tori. Beautiful.
If I see in this using example, if Alan never, ever comes to my vision of what Alan ought to be,
I like that.
and in this life only I have hope, well, Alan blew it. No. He'll keep moving.
Keep moving on.
I'll have more hope in the next life, and the next life, and the next life.
Yes.
And we will progress. And his totality may progress way beyond mine, and I'll never reach him. Or it may not progress as far as me, and he'll never catch up. Every time I meet him, I think, geesh. But he has progress. So
in some way.
yeah, in some way, somehow.
Yes.
Whether
yes.
it's through the DC or the AC
Yes,
or through
he's
the NL or
progressing
something,
that way.
whatever he's being.
Yes.
And
beautiful.
what we have to do is just realize, somebody said it one time, don't put any expectations on anything, and
Yes.
you'll always be satisfied
Yes.
person.
And what you just said, that helps me. When I look at a person and I know, this person isn't on the cutting edge, I look at that person and I go, well, they gotta go back through it again until they reach a point, until they get a good understanding of what's going on. So that just
And many times I think, why did they say that?
Go ahead.
They must not be listening. Why did they say that? Well, their crystal may be totally different than mine.
That's exactly
It
right,
ain't that they're
bro.
not listening, their crystal just ain't picking it up, and it's not supposed to pick it up.
Right.
And I shouldn't want to take my crystal out and stick
Stick
it
it in their face.
You know, because they have a crystal that's gonna do what it needs to do. It's gonna pick up all the frequencies it needs to pick up. And if my energy is not one of those frequencies, they will never come up. If I hold expectations that everybody has to come up to me, they will never come. You will always be dissatisfied, and you will always be saying they failed. Wow, they moved on and didn't come where they should come to. They did come. Every person that walks out of this life came to exactly what they were supposed to be in
That's
this
exactly
life.
right. Nobody is where they're not supposed to be right now.
And-
Everybody is where they're supposed to be.
And the starting line,
Everybody.
the starting line in the next manifestation is not the starting line for everybody.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
They start
Amen.
somewhere else.
Amen. Amen. You're so wise, Tori.
And we don't know how many people that we look at today have already been through this. I think about that every day. I look at people and I think, you know what? That person, what's the chances then this is their third time around? And they've learned a few things and they've changed a few things. And how many times have they been? So when I start thinking like that, I think, wow.
Deja vu. How many times
Yeah.
does it hit you? And you think, I've been here before. Well, you have been.
You have.
That reminds me of something, because there's a store that I hate going into. And just because of the people that are there, the people that shop there, but out of necessity, it's close, you have to go get whatever you need. But every time I walk
Because
in,
of the people that shop
yeah,
there.
well, I won't say that, but anyway. But what helps me every time I walk through that door, I take a deep breath and think, everyone in this building is eternal.
Everybody.
Every one of them. So I can deal with them, I can understand them, I can get through the store and get out and get what I need, get back home, because I know everyone in this building is eternal and there's nothing they can do that can affect me.
It helps you to easier accept the limitations.
Yeah, and in that, they don't, a lot of them are not aware of who they are. They're not aware that they are AC/DC, I mean, they don't have a clue.
They don't.
So how is that gonna affect me? How's that, how am I gonna let that affect me? Am I gonna go in with a bad attitude and ready to beat up everybody in the store? Or go in with a loving attitude, like, I love you, I understand you. I just wanna get this piece of bread and get out.
And you just go in and say, this is just temporary, this is just temporary, it's all gonna come to an end, I only have to do this for so long.
Isn't it a dimensional thing? The way, the dimension, the music, the language,
Sure.
all the things that make us all different.
You know, I don't match up to you. When you turn your music on, I say to myself, okay, I can put up with that.
Yeah.
And when I turn my music on, I know you feel the same way.
No, I like your music because I used to listen to your music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, you know, being a musician, you love.
Language, somebody, Sister Connie, takes up, we were talking about language the other day, and we said, well, you know, there are styles of languages. Spanish is a very sensual language. It is just a beautiful language, and all of it's just a sensual. When you listen to a male or a female talking, it has a uniqueness about it. France is a genderless language. It's sexual almost, to the point to where it makes it genderless. You just kind of flow in with the flow. American is it's a very I say English. It's a very proper language. You can just go on and on. Every language has a different feel about it. Now, for me, those felt that way. When I get around them and I travel the world, you may hear them and you may say to yourself, well, they don't match up like that for me. I think the French language is this, the Spanish is this. Every one of us have a different frequency.
That's
Every
right.
one of us have a different thought on things. And every one of us that come up a road to where everything, although we're running into the same things, they are all different to us.
Now here in America, they have an urban language, they call it Ebonics.
Yeah, Ebonics.
Some of those words, they were going over on television, what do you think this word means? I did not know.
Yeah.
None of them. And kids actually talk like that and use that language. You're like,
Absolutely.
what?
I've heard them.
You know, like hotel.
Well, we had a street language when I was a teenager. We didn't talk like any of the adults. We all had our own little slangs and our terminology, and we did it intentionally to make ourselves different from the adults, so we could talk in our own way, in our own style.
Whenever we got around our parents and there was a group of us kids together, we always talked pig Latin. The parents never knew what in the world you were saying.
Yeah.
You know what?
Your parents used to talk big Latin.
You take the last letter
Yeah.
and put it with the before it.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the word.
And take the first letter and put it at the end, you know.
That takes some practice.
Ampere. Donoye. Oh, no, Anye. Right, Ande, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's languages all in the earth, and we're talking about literal language at the moment, but think about all the movements of language. That when the sun comes up in the morning, this language goes throughout the earth. If a trumpet sounds an uncertain sound, how should the people prepare? Everything has a language to it. Everything has a melody to it. Melody and language are formed from mathematics. And everything has a mathematics to it. Everything goes in rectangles, triangles, frequencies. It's all math. So once you're finished with those millions of languages spreading throughout the earth,
Billions.
what you have really done is you've taken a good look and gained the experience of mathematics. Not a drawing of a triangle on a board, but you experience the three-dimensional feeling of geometry. Not a rectangle on a board, 4 squares or whatever, but you experience the whole 4 dimensionals and the 5 dimensionals and the octons or the octaves, and you experience the moving up and you experience all those things, and it's all mathematics. That's why Einstein and some of the greatest men in the world said, whenever you're finished with mathematics, on the other end of all of it, there's a spirit there that's behind it all.
I think Brother Graham read something. He said that man is using mathematics for the wrong reason. He said man can use mathematics and find the very center. Einstein said that man was using, this is from Brother Graham, it was one of his books, and I can't remember what book, but he said that Einstein said, he was paraphrasing Einstein, that if man is using mathematics the wrong way. He said if man would use mathematics the proper way, they would find the very center of God.
Yeah.
You remember that quote?
That's right.
Yep.
I like the difference between Einstein and Tesla, where Einstein would point out what man was doing to get a wrong answer and how to look for it, and
Yeah.
Tesla just went straight to this is where the right answer's at. They approached it. Einstein says, hey, we have limitations. If you get beyond those, Tesla said there's no limitations.
Yeah.
We're out here.
Einstein said, I wrote all this down, and based on all my tests, this book or this list of things is how it operates. And Tesla said, I never wrote anything down. I went to my mind and I found it, and this is how it operates.
Yeah.
So Einstein was kind of the book of mathematics, and Tesla was the experience and the action of mathematics.
Yeah, they had two total different approaches. Yeah.
They asked Einstein one time, they said, how does it feel to be the smartest man in the world? And Einstein said, I don't know. If you want to know that answer, ask Tesla.
Yeah.
He knew that Tesla was so far beyond.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how it would feel to be the smartest man in the world. If you want to know that, ask Tesla.
And if you look at Einstein, everything he put out was in theory. It started out
That's
in
right.
theory, and Tesla, it may have started out in theory, but it ended up in factuality.
That's right.
There was something manifested out of it.
He brought a result.
He brought a result.
He didn't leave you thinking, well, that could be the way it is.
Yeah.
He brought a result.
Yeah, you could see it.
Louis goes on here and says, this is the day and the moment to watch the movement of the Spirit and the elements become one. This is where I kind of got the idea of, it's not the AC and the DC that we want. We do want them both, but we're not trying to manifest one or the other. We're trying to be the element. We brought it down to Capricorn, the element. The element lights up. The frequencies of Aquarius touch the earth and it brings forth Capricorn.
Yeah.
The element lights up, the earth lights up. So he's saying here, when the spirit and the elements become one, our heart is the feel of it all. Yes, our mind, we think new things intellectually, desiring those things, and with the heart we feel and experience those desires of our thoughts as we feel it in our heart and make them real. Thinking with the heart makes things possible. We should align our mind and heart as one. It's the renewing yourself into a proper alignment of your power as a creator of the things you want to happen in your presence. Here's the secret of all things that happen from the mind. It moves from the mind to the heart. It's like the process from darkness to light, mind to heart. Connection applies to every condition that you have, every experience that you have. You're experiencing a moment where that light and darkness come together and you bring forth that experience that you had never discovered before. So that's what we're doing. AC, DC, two currents strike the element, and we have become the element that accepts. I accept the negativity, the DC. I accept the positivity, the AC. I accept that the DC can make a picture so much better than just being positive. Take the negatives of a picture, the darker things of a picture. You know where an artist starts when he starts drawing a canvas picture? He starts out with all the dark colors. He begins to shade them all in. And you don't even know what's there. The darkness of that picture is done before you ever know anything about it. And then he comes back over top of all that dark shades, dark blues and blacks and browns and natural colors. He comes back and he starts putting in the lighter colors over the shading, and slow but sure brings it to life. That's what is happening to us all the time. We are constantly taking our life and doing the artistic work, and we are not now. We are accepting the darkness just as much as the light. It makes a beautiful picture.
It does.
And what we did through the past was said, can't have any negative. Or, I don't care what you say, we're limited and you just can't be as positive as you're trying to be. Well, I'm both.
You know,
I'm both.
I think about it. Without the negative, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Nor would you.
Absolutely not.
None of us would be.
Because that's who we are, right? We're a mixture of both.
I like the process of this whole thing because we started with, years ago, we started with us being the devil. And look how far we progressed to having a better understanding.
You know where we were at when that happened?
We were in the Philippines.
Where at?
We were in, what was the name of that island?
We were in the north.
We were in the north, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Pangasinan.
Yes, right, Pangasinan.
We were in the north. And where did Lucifer rise up?
The north.
In the book of Isaiah,
Mm-hmm.
the 14th chapter.
Yes. Yeah, I remember
It
that.
says, I'll raise up in the congregation of the north.
And look how far we've progressed from that. I mean, it's the progression of it that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey.
That helped me to understand a lot of things when that was brought out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, help you to understand yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there we killed the God complex.
How did it help you understand yourself? What changed? What made you think, okay, I see this now. I see the whole picture.
I used to wonder why I would do certain things, even though I didn't want to do them. And when that came, I was like, okay, that's why. I've got this
Yeah.
devil here,
Yeah.
and then
Got
God
two,
here.
two energies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got two energies flowing into it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Swirling around each other all
Positive-
the time.
positive
I'm in the
and
middle
negative.
of it. And sometimes it's more
See,
negative.
we call
So
it,
when you said that, I had no problem at all,
And it's-
because I could look at
and
myself.
see, we were
Right,
calling,
right,
we were calling
right.
it negative contrast.
It is,
Remember, but
it
now
is
look what
really
we
just
process.
one energy. It's
Yeah.
really just one.
Just one energy,
But what we
right.
have is a lower end and an upper end that
That's
are-
right, brother. That's right.
And that's why when you see
That's
the
right.
symbol in the Chinese symbol, yin and yang,
Yeah,
people think, oh, it's two. It's not two. It's one circle
that's right.
with energies polarized, working against each other all the time. But it's one energy with two aspects to it.
And like you were saying, it helps you see how you overcome
Yeah.
with those two things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time that I think of us becoming one,
Mhm.
you know what we did when we looked at the total eclipse of the female ages, the age of the church? We looked at the total eclipse of the moon and we said, light and darkness separated. Look at yin and yang and then look at the total eclipse. Yin, one side is light, the other side is darkness, and they're wrapped around one another. And here we have the church ages the same way, and it wasn't that light and darkness separated from one another. It is that we began to understand the detail of darkness and light and how they needed to be together in the same creation. And by doing that, we first had to separate out and look at the darkness, and we had to separate out and look at the light. And then, now, the issue is taking those and making them one, because they grabbed scriptures that John wrote and said, we are children of the light. Well, yeah, you would write that in 96 AD when the church ages are on and the eclipse is big and you're trying to learn details of light and darkness. You would write that. You would say, you know, all kinds of things about darkness and how you have to be separated. Paul writes, separate yourself from the world. Well, yeah. So you can understand the contrast. But we're past all that.
Yeah.
Those were great scriptures for the church
To
ages.
that time.
But now it is oneness. It is joining back
Exactly
together.
right.
We were taught so much about light and darkness that everybody did not look at the fact that it's a collection of elements. It's the moon. It's a collection of elements in a constant state of two reflections. Sometimes you look at it as dark, but it's still one chunk of rock
Yes.
under both those conditions, and it just rotates. We were so focused on the darkness and the light that we forgot to look at the planet.
Yeah.
It's one planet. It's just two continuing rotating conditions. That's us.
I remember I was at an observatory in Cincinnati and they had a couple of people there. And so they were studying the moon because it was getting ready to come up to an eclipse. This has been years ago. And so I go up to the telescope and I'm looking through, you know, it's a great big thing. And you're looking through it, through the observatory. And I was looking at the moon and I looked at it for a few minutes and I stepped away. And they're all saying, it's beautiful, isn't it beautiful? I said, it sure is. I said, you know what? I don't believe that's a man in the moon. I believe that's a woman. And they just looked at me like, what? I said, yeah, there's no
I
man in
remember
the
the
moon.
pictures we had.
I said, that's a woman. I said, that's a beautiful face. That's a beautiful. And they just looked at me like, buddy, you're nuts. Well, I see things. When I see things, I see them totally different. And I remember looking through that observatory at how beautiful, just the look of that face and everything about it. It's a woman.
Yeah. Long
And
hair,
it was a woman's age. It was the female
You remember?
extravaganza, the pulling out and the detail of the female. The same way the Old Testament kind of pulled out the male, the New Testament pulled out the female, and we all look at it and said, there was 2 women, and John seen them in the book of Revelation, and he admired the one woman and all of her blood and all of her glory and all of her slaughtering of the saints and all of, and then this other woman was so holy and so pure and so bride-like and so beautiful, and she was adorned with righteousness, and they say, look at these 2 women, and I don't look and see 2 women. I see one woman. I see one woman that's adorned with all of that beauty and the admiration of her, and all of that beauty has darkness and light. It has iniquity. Read the 7 church ages real close. You'll find Brother Branham saying he was married to all of them. All of them. He was married to the churches and all of their slaughterings and everything. He was married to that woman because it was the same woman that was sitting in all of her glory.
He's married to the harlot. He was married to the bride.
It's just one woman.
Yeah.
Hosea, it was one woman, Gomer, but she was a beautiful bride. She became a prostitute. She went into slavery. She was on the slave block. She was slaughtered in every way, spiritually speaking. And then when she was made a spectacle of Israel, the Lord speaks to Hosea and says, now go down there and get her, buy her off the slave block, bring her back home, and make her one with you, and bring forth her children. And every child that Hosea had, the name of it had something to do with the iniquities and the glory of Israel, both of them, bitterness and light. Hosea brought it together by realizing the prostitute and the righteous woman are just one, depending on what they're manifesting in their iniquity and in their righteousness. And they're all eternal. They are all us. Stop looking at the book of Revelations. Stop looking at the God and the devil. Stop looking at the disobedient and the obedient as 2 different people. It's us. It's us.
It's all us. It's all humanity. Hallelujah.
So when you realize that in yourself, you're saying that just brought a peace, and it was the biggest peace because it didn't change your actions. It's like I said it's like I said about 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter last weekend. The message to the king was the message of defeat. We're in trouble. The king was afraid. And the message from Jehazel, the singer, was stop being afraid, stop being all these things, wake up to the fact that we are the Lord, and us as singers are going to go out in front of you. And he shouted, we can win this battle. Well, what changed? Nothing changed. The kings were still out there. They were still stretched as far as the sea. They were still coming against them. But the message of who you are and what you can do with yourself changed. And when it changed, Israel went out and won what they were supposed to win and did what they were supposed to do. So for you, your actions didn't change, but the message to you changed.
Yeah, we made a vibrational shift, a dimensional shift.
Yeah.
Big dimensional shift. Beautiful shift.
That's right.
How did it affect when you saw this? And I'm not saying you saw it from me. You may have saw it yourself years ago. But this was a, quote, world universal change. Personally, I began to see these things years ago. 2011, 2010, I began to see these things in me. If you go back and listen to some of those messages,
Some of the talks you and I had too.
and you see it, but then it became the world, kind of went around the world. How did it affect you personally when you begin to recognize it and see it? How did it affect you?
Well, I saw the unity years back, like when I was 19. No, I couldn't understand. I was like, why is all this separation going on? I don't understand. Jesus Christ was in Calvary and died for everybody, not just for one person, for the whole world. And there was a separation. I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Why? And when I started hearing the message, even from Brother Branham, I was like, wow, this is so different. I knew. And then when I hear about your message, I was like, I was right. I knew years back. And everything that I was told, if I do things, bad things, I'm going to hell. If I do the good things, I'm going to heaven. It's like, I'm here to do everything and know and learn about these things.
Yeah.
So whatever I did in the past, I learned from it. The negative things, especially. And I learned from them. And now when I came here, I was like, wow.
Amen.
I just, it's like, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. I like it. And I never went to hell, or because hell is right here, right now, and also heaven.
Amen.
And it's in me. I think
That's
that
right.
myself, I have hell and heaven in me, and I choose where to go.
David made the statement, if I make my bed in hell, he's there with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I go into the heavens, he's there with me. Really what David is saying is if I do good, the Lord is in it. And if I do bad, the Lord is in it.
Yeah.
No matter what I do, I'm experiencing something that is the Spirit moving me forward.
That's right.
It's not a place I go, heaven or hell. It's conditions that I choose to put myself into to learn my lessons.
Yeah.
Amen. How did it affect you, Sister Aubrey?
So, kind of relating back to what you were talking about with frequencies, and we all have our own frequency, but having the changes take place in all the progression, all the parts just more and more matching up each time. Each progression that comes, like, yes, I see that, yes, I see that, yes, I know what you're talking about. That's really great, being able to identify more and more closely with what's being said.
Amen.
That's right.
That's a good way to look at it. It's like I said about the Model T and the Tesla. In between there was Ford and Chevy and Oldsmobile and GM, and it just kept progressing, coming through the Ferraris and the BMWs and on up to Tesla. And what you're saying is as each piece came together, that's it. I see that. That makes this work for me. This makes this work for me. That's kind of the way I was forever. I was taking a good look at the pieces that made the whole, and that's what will help you to understand and see. Remember the face test that I put out? All of the whole was there, and I said, well, I just seen it where they said if you can find the camel in that face, it's a good sign that you probably won't get Alzheimer's or dementia or any of that. The reason they say that's because the camel was the minute, littlest small detail, and Alzheimer's and dementia doesn't make you forget those little details. So if you see the littlest detail and know what it is, you're probably not going to have that issue. I understand you completely, Sister Alberta. And the progression has brought us look at where it's brought us. And I understand it. I understand it all. It just put the pieces together for me. I understand it.
If I can't identify something, I'll never be able to relate it to myself.
You know, it's,
You just can't.
yeah.
So when I'm, like she said, when I'm able to identify something, now I can take that and relate it to myself.
Yeah.
Some way, some form, I can relate. Without that identification, I can't do that, and I'm at a loss. I've got that one piece to the puzzle that's always blank, and I can't fit it in there.
Well, you know, I'm thinking about ministry in the past, and I'm thinking how I knew there was something more. You know, I knew there was something.
We had a
more.
ministry of death.
We sure do.
We exacerbated the death,
That's exactly
negativity,
right.
more than we did the life.
That's right.
And
Now
then,
you love
and then we came to a point where we were exacerbating or pushing life more
Yes.
than death.
Yes.
And now we're just saying, look, the two are a part of us. Let's flow together here.
Light and darkness are the same.
Yeah. And I overcome. I like what Diane Stanhope said here. I found it brought me peace because I can now identify with the entire Bible. All these stories are about me. Judas, Christ, Adam, Eve, Abel, Cain, and so on. It used to feel guilty and sinful reading the stories, but now I know it's me, all of it, and the way it's supposed to be. I like that. That's, you're looking at the whole picture. When there's something going on with Moses, I'm not only Moses, I'm Balaam. And I'm not only Balaam, I'm King Barak, and I'm this, and all the actions that you read in the picture, I'm every one of them. And I'm the children of Israel who rose up and built Baal, and I'm all those things. I do those in my life. Now I need to understand how to deal with those things. And then there's another one here. Brother Ben, he says, yes, we are all calling Jesus, yet the division is so much until understanding came in this message and set us free.
Yeah.
So we were all calling on Jesus. We were all calling
Every
ourselves.
last one of them.
We're my religion, Jesus is number one. Well, yeah, that's good, but my religion, Jesus is number one, and my Jesus is not the same as your Jesus. And fight.
Right.
This brought it all together.
Yeah.
And I said, we're all Christ. Judas was Christ. Jesus was Christ. Alan is Christ. Don is Christ. Right on down the line. And you may not like the actions, but it's Christ, just the same.
You know, we all come to the point in life where we want to know, what is the meaning of life? You know, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Who am I? So when you start bringing those things out about heaven, hell, God, Satan, you start answering the question of who am I? You start just thinking about who really am I? What am I? And then from there it goes back out to what is my meaning in this life?
Yeah.
You know, to others, how am I affecting others? Back out to I get it now. I understand the meaning of life. I know why we're all here. I know why all of this is here.
Yes.
So yeah, what you started was really giving us an understanding of not only just the meaning of life, but who we are and our part in this whole evolution.
You know, I think I made a statement a while ago, and maybe through some darkness or through some things on Edison. Tesla was the smartest man in the world, no doubt. No doubt in my mind, he probably still, when you put it all together, is the smartest man in the world. I said Edison stole. Tesla couldn't get his product out there. He was a great man. But whether it was the government or whoever, he couldn't get his product out there. Rife was the same way. Dr. Wright, he couldn't get his product to flow. Edison came along, took the product and made it go worldwide. So Edison played just as great a part as Tesla and Rife and all of
Yeah.
these guys played.
Yeah.
He played just as great a part.
Yes.
It's like George Whitefield. George Whitefield had a message that was so extraordinary in his age. John Wesley was converted under that, and George Whitefield you hardly ever hear a thing about, but John Wesley took that message out there and it blew up into all the world. Now, did John Wesley steal Whitefield's message and come out here and the whole world accept Wesley? That's not what it's about. The Spirit knows the character it needs to open things up into the earth. Someone said, Don Parnell, he just took a whole lot of what William Branham said and what this one said and that one said, and he put it all together, and then he took it out there, and then everybody said he's a prophet. Well, I don't say I'm a prophet, and I don't try to be a prophet, but I know this: the Lord used my character, the Spirit used my character to take the things that were being said and spread them throughout the earth and move us further along.
Most definitely.
And for me, I might be an Edison, and William Branham might be the Tesla, or vice versa. But I know who I am, and I know what he did with me, and I know what he did with my life. I know what he did with my ministry and all of those things. And now I know where I'm supposed to be. I'm telling you, I'm sitting in the grandstand. You know, Brother Branham said there comes a day when they all sit up there in the grandstand and they watch it all. I'm kind of sitting in the grandstand. I don't think that I'm ever going to, those days are over of traveling all over the world and saying, you got to see this, you got to see this. We got the internet, we got Twitter, we got Facebook, you can just go on and on and on. We got so many ways to get this message out now that if I travel, it's going to be for the little fellowship and detail of learning how to love one another. That's what it'll be about. It won't be so much of, oh my God, look at this. A new message has opened up. That's not what it's going to be about. It's more about love and fellowship, finding peace in what we have.
Couldn't we say that right now, you're not the only person that's teaching it? Somewhere in the world, somebody else is teaching it.
Yeah.
I name a few.
It's just that, like you said, you've been pushed out there by the Holy Spirit to carry it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But then there's somebody else out there, because you're not reaching the whole entire world.
Who in the message, just think about Tolly, Pullman, you could just keep naming them, Dyer, Abraham Hicks, you could just keep going down the line. So many of them.
Yes.
Who in the message would have ever come over here and accepted this science and spirituality if there hadn't been somebody that came out of the message here and gave him a stepping stone?
That's exactly right.
That's what the Lord did. This ministry pulled him out of the religiosity of the message and brought them one step closer, and now you're able to bridge the two, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands are coming out of, quote, the message into this understanding of spirituality, energy, science, the things that are happening for us.
Hundreds.
Never would have happened. They would have stood over here saying, that's the devil. And you still got that group that stands over here saying, that's the devil, don't go near it, that's the devil. And God are the things that nobody can explain. Well, if your God is unexplainable, I am very quickly diminishing your God to nothing, because I can sit and look and explain almost everything now. And what we can't explain, the unknown things, just give us a little time.
Sure.
It'll come, and we will continue to break open, and that unknown God is going to diminish to nothing. Paul said to them, I see an unknown inscription on your altar, Athenians, and this unknown God I declare unto you. Well, I got the same thing to say. You bunch of message people and the rest of the world, I see an inscription on all of your altars of, we need this mysterious unknown God. Well, I declare unto you, he is known now. He came through Jesus Christ. He broke back into the church. He became the female of the church ages. He come down through there. He came out. He became the wholeness, took all of the ACs and the DCs and pulled them all together and created an element in this day that can handle all of it and take the negative and the positive and light the world up. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, we haven't come down here to destroy. We come here to build up.
That's right.
We're not destroying nothing. The foundation's been laid. We're just building upon it.
Unveiling ourselves in our conscious world brings out a beautiful language, a sound of our own expression. I just love that. A sound of our own expression. After our own 7 seals open, not 7 seals down there in the pulpit of Jeffersonville, but after our own 7 seals open and finished, after the 7 angels, the chakras of your body, begin to light up, work, and balance all things within our body, then our own crown, the crown of the head, our own crown shines and lights up our whole being, and unveiled our language, and sounds of life in a new way and reality came forth, uncovering our glory, that we are more than a human within a human body. We are the consciousness that gives color and sound and music and language to everything that we do. Our present age is perfect language and sounds of love divine. It takes away all fear in our life. As it says, there is no fear in love. We have no sin, then guilt is gone. Shame is gone. Grief is no more power over our feelings. We are happy. Lies of the past is no more. Illusion is no more. The 7 plagues are gone. We broke our own 7 seals, loosed it all, and let it go. Let our spirit free. The language and sounds of enlightenment sets in, and we see and understand who we are. The melody of our true self is singing now and dancing in the new tune of life. I really like that. That was poetry from Louis Villamore. I just love it. I love it.
Brother Villamore, we love you.
Amen. So many of us now that are bringing out so many depths of these things to us. We have dimensions, but not in the old style thinking brought to us by science or religion. Dimensions are cycles in our lives, and there are millions of cycles moving through the universe simultaneously right now. You are caught up in them with your experimental needs, and each of us have our own movement within the cycle. We are progressing cyclical, continually, from birth to individual, to gender, to elemental, to spiritual, and on continuously. We are at the point of, they call it critical mass. We've come to a point, we recognize what we're here for.
That's right.
Took a long time.
Took a long time.
Many ages. But we today recognize what we're here for. Does everybody, Brother Parnell? No. But it doesn't mean that everybody isn't exactly what they're supposed to be.
That's right.
But there is a group, call it a group, call it what you want, but there is a people who have the intelligence in them of what's going on. And there is a people who will migrate and follow along in parallel with that intelligence through religion and politics and history and on and on and on. They will just move in parallel with it just to shine up everything that's happening.
Just to provide the contrast.
That's right. And we will never, they will never, and we will never be like one another.
Amen.
But we are one in our differences. And we accept that, and that puts the flow into our elemental system that lights us up.
Amen.
Amen.
Beautiful.
Anything else? Amen. I really enjoyed it. I can read all the time. What time is it?
12:40.
Okay. I'll read this very quickly. And then we'll
That's
come
how I
back
beat
to
it.
it.
That's how I beat it. Yeah.
Language of music. David said one time that heaven declares his glory and the firmament shows his handiwork. Days speak, night show knowledge. Their voices are heard in speech and language, and their lines go through the earth. Psalms 19, 1-4. We read that just a few weeks ago. Each time we declare, let there be, let us make, it is written. We are touching the earth. And that's true. What we're doing is beginning the experience to understand our knowledge. Each time we declare, let there be, let us make, it is written, we are touching the earth. We are writing, we are creating, we are bringing out humanity in a descriptive form of an identity. However that form is, whether it's in a book, whether it's an experience in life, we're bringing out all these things. I often said Mark Twain, I love his writings. I love his fiction books. They're some of the greatest, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, all those guys.
Oh, I'm
man.
sorry. Yeah.
And I realized in life that Mark Twain was writing about himself.
Mhm.
He was writing about his own desires. He was writing about
Mhm.
what he wanted to
Uncle
be.
Tom's Cabin.
He was just having a great time. That's what's going on with us. We are putting out a descriptive form
Yes.
of our identity. It's our
Yes.
language. It's a scene to be seen.
Yes.
We come on the scene to be seen, to open up our language. We are releasing energy. We are setting up frequencies and vibes. We are
Mhm.
striking dimensional chords and
Mhm.
lines. It's our music. Sound to be heard. Seen to be seen. Believe in your identity, purpose, and time. As you speak your creation,